This is Stuff You Like, you can call me Ursa, and you know what? I was wrong about the Sherlock finale. Also spoilers. But I don't need tea in a shock blanket at all, because it was great. And what a twist! And what a cliffhanger! I mean, I was hardly emotionally battered by it at all. I guess that was what the sign of 3 was for. Anyway, excellent choice of villain and superb casting, and he's Danish, so Sophie will be happy. Charles Augustus Magnuson is gross. Awful. He's based on Charles Augustus Milverton, who was Conan Doyle's king of blackmailers, who was himself based on Charles Augustus Howell, who was a real person. And yes, that whole "I don't need proof, I'm in the news" thing was probably a cheap shot, but frankly I have no love for the scandal sheets or their online equivalent, the sidebar of shame, and so I'm totally down for a couple of cheap shots. Also, I really like saying Charles Augustus, it just rolls off the tongue. This episode was, you know, a wonderful opportunity to bounce off the walls of canon once again and see what shook loose. Like Mary. Now that was nice, satisfying. It paid off the clues from the previous 2 episodes, and it means that, you know, she might be able to come back for season 4 as the 3rd side of the triangle, which I like. I mean, I had previously wondered, why did John marry her? I mean, she seemed like a nice lady and all, but John is a blood knight, an adrenaline junkie, a man desperate for the fight. John is a wolf. It just seemed like it was going to end badly. But Mary seemed to be holding her own, and maybe that is because there is a lot of the wolf in Mary too. And I love that take on the character, that any woman that John Watson decides that he wants to spend the rest of his life with has to be something a little bit special. Not necessarily special in a positive way, but special nonetheless. And so I am definitely down for more Mary involvement and more of her character, which is funny and cool and haunted and ruthless and driven and just brilliant. I mean, season 2's Irene Adler was ruthless and driven too, but she wasn't sympathetic, at least not to me. Mary and her web of conflicting loyalties with Sherlock and with John is much more grey, and I find that much more interesting. And much more sympathetic. So the thematic arc of the episode was, of course, pressure points, and it had a lot more of the Sherlock Holmesian case solving than the sign of 3. And it came complete with a painful twist which suddenly got undone. Wait. As I am constantly trying to remind myself, just because a writer likes to do a certain kind of thing or write a certain kind of character and does so a lot, doesn't mean that every example of them is bad, or even that any of the examples of them are bad, just that they do it a lot. And Sherlock being a show that has mostly had consequences for all of its actions, then suddenly kind of wrapping it all up neatly in a bow, oh my goodness, Moriarty might be back, no, we've got to bring you back again after only 4 minutes in exile, I didn't particularly mind, because, it hasn't happened very often, so if it happens every now and again, that's fine. It's a bit like Moffat women, because not every woman that Moffat writes is archetypical Moffat female character, and not every example of archetypical Moffat female character is, you know, bad. There are just a lot of them. But I digress, so let's get back to the point, which was pressure points. And Sherlock has so many. All of Sherlock's pressure points are about his heart. And that's some excellent character development. I mean, they're not even about his ego anymore, which is just wonderful. Good character progression there, Sherlock. Well done. And ultimately, I liked learning about their pressure points. I liked the character moments better than I liked the crime-solving story. I mean, the story was fine. I love what they did with Mary. I liked the villain, that he was competent and really scary and also kind of gross, and I liked that he was different to Moriarty, and that was wonderful. But I liked the relationships between the characters and how they interact, and how Sherlock now sees his relationship with John and with Mary and with Anderson and with Lestrade and with Molly. You know what, let's talk about Molly. I've held off for long enough because Molly Hooper is my absolute favourite thing in this whole series. Molly is fluffy jumpers and kittens and flowers on her pastel pink blog and psycho ex-boyfriends and broken engagements and brains and corpses and dissection and sexy sparkly Christmas dresses and red lipstick and kindness. And I love her. She's the one who calculates safe alcohol intake for stag parties. She's the one who slaps Sherlock senseless when he's being mean. She's the one who makes Sherlock apologise multiple times over the course of this series. And her changed relationship with Sherlock typifies the changing of all of the relationships that he has with them and they have with each other. Sherlock's relationship with Anderson or John or Molly or Mary is completely different to the first time that he met them or the first time we saw them interacting. So taking Molly as our example, she starts as a mouse. In the first series she's shy and taken advantage of and completely under the thumb of someone who has absolutely no interest in her and is basically stringing her along for corpses. In the second series, Sherlock's perception of her changes and he trusts her. And then in the third series, yet another progression from trusted friend to trusted friend who will take no crap from you, not anymore. And that is something that Sherlock desperately needs in his life. As I said before, in the third series of Sherlock, Molly makes Sherlock apologise. Repeatedly. And if that isn't character development for both of them, I don't know what is. And ultimately that's why I love this show. Not because it has the cleverest plots or the funniest jokes, though the plots are often very clever and the jokes are generally hilarious, but because I totally buy all of the characters. I am emotionally invested in their lives and their relationships. I want to know what happens to them and I care. And having made me care again, we of course now return to our regularly scheduled hiatus. But you know what? It was fun while it lasted, so I don't really mind.